Good afternoon, everyone. So far, we have discussed the topics of distributed system, where we have discussed the different type of networking connections, local area network, wide area network, metropolitan area network, as well as the personal area network. Before that, we were discussing about the migration of data A from disk to register, how you are shifting the data from magnetic disk to main memory, then to cache, then to the hardware registers. Before that, we have compared all the different type of memory with respect to their size, implementation technology, access time, bandwidth, and backed by. Now we are going to discuss the computer system architecture, how we are managing our hardware. Okay. Most systems use a single general purpose processor. Most systems have special purpose processors as well. Single general purpose processor means, one second. Single general purpose processor means you are having a single processor system. In some cases, we may have some special purpose processors also. A special purpose processor means you are having your graphic processor, graphic driver, graphic media, graphic memory, whatever you can say. Graphic card is nothing but a special kind of processor for displaying purposes. It is also having some sort of memory. So multiprocessor system growing in use and importance. Nowadays, whatever we are having, we are using a multi-processor system where there are different processor units who can work parallelly. They can manage your task parallelly. There is no single processor now, also known as parallel systems or tightly coupled systems. Parallel system, we can say parallel systems because if two processes are running on two different processor units, then no process will be communicating with each other. No disturbance will be there in between those two processes. That's why we are saying parallel systems. Advantages include increased throughput, economy of scale, and increased reliability. These three terms you should know very where uh, they will be using you will be using in the complete operating system, that increase throughput, economy of scale, and increased reliability. So I am discussing one by one. Increased throughput. Increased throughput means you can produce more results in similar time. Suppose you are having a single processor system, and other way you are having two or three different processors at the same time. Okay, so what will you think? Who can produce more results fast within a same time, within a 1 minute? How many instructions particular CPU, particular computer can process? Either suppose you are having a single processor system, it is handling 10 different processes at a time, 10 different processes in 1 second. Then if you are using a system with three processors at a time, then it will be completed in half time, not 1/3 time. It may be completed in the half time. So your throughput will be increased. Throughput means output. Your output, or you can say the system performance, will be increased when you are having more than one processor in the same system. Then economy of scale. Economy of scale means uh, it will be cheaper. It will be cheaper than having a single processor system. How? Let's say I am asking you, you are going to purchase some system. There are two different types of system you can purchase. One is single processor system. Second one is uh, having three different processors. Whichever will be costlier, obviously the second one, in which we are having more number of processors because processor is very costly. So why we are saying that economy of scale second one is cheaper? Because uh, if we are having a single processor, we cannot compare a single processor system with a system having four different processor units. This system is having four different processors. So we cannot compare this single processor system with a system having four different processors. For this, we have to compare four single processor system with this equivalent single system. Now, which cost will be high? Four single processors or a single system with four processors inside it? Obviously, this system will be cheaper than having the four different systems. Why? Because you will be using only one screen here. Here, four different screens will be there. You will be using four different keyboard, mouses, and etc. You will be having only one. Here, you will be having memory, hard drive, RAM, ROM, everything four times. Here, you are using a same RAM for in every processor, same storage for every processor. That's why the cost of this processor will be cheaper than the cost of having four different single processor systems. We cannot compare a single processor system with a system having four different processors. Okay. Then the increased reliability. Increased reliability means whenever you are having a single processor system and somehow uh, some failure is there, some hardware problem is there inside the circuit. Now you cannot perform your task at this system because you are having only one processor and this processor is not working correctly. There is some fault. But when you are having a system having more than one processor at a time, if one processor fails, then you are having three additional processors or you may have more other processors that can perform that task. So your reliability will be increased. It is will be graceful degradation or you can say it will be fault tolerance. If at any time you are getting any type of fault, it will be tolerant here. But your fault cannot be tolerated here. Now, whenever we are talking about multi-processor system, it is of two types: asymmetric multiprocessor system and symmetric multiprocessor systems. Asymmetric and symmetric. Asymmetric means each processor is assigned a special task. That means all the processors are different. One processor is dealing with the computation part, second processor is dealing with the uh, screen resolution part, third processor is dealing with some other graphic purposes, fourth one is responsible for the audio devices. So in asymmetric multiprocessing, you are having different processor for different tasks. In symmetric multiprocessing, each processor performs all the tasks. These are equivalent, similar processors we are having here. Similar processors mean if you are having four different processors at a time, if you want to copy one content from this drive to some other drive, then any particular processor can do this task. But while you are using asymmetric multiprocessing, only one processor will be there that will be responsible for copying such kind of data. So asymmetric and symmetric, two different types of multiprocessor systems are there. Now symmetric multiprocessor architecture, you are having memory, then this common memory is connected to two different processors. That is the symmetric multiprocessing. Symmetric multiprocessing, whenever we are talking about multiprocessor means you are having more than one processor, but your memory is same. If you are separating the memory also, then we can say you are having two different systems. Why are you saying that you are having multiple systems? You are having two single processor systems in that case. But if you want a multi-processor system, that means you are having a common memory. Two processor will be there, two registers will be there for the different processors, two cache memory will be there, one cache for this, one cache for this, but both of these processors will be sharing the common memory area, common RAM. Both processors are same, equivalent. Then dual core design. What do you mean by dual core? Dual core is a special type of multiprocessor system. In dual core, we can say you are having only a single processor. But in that processor, again, you are having two cores. It is similar to multiprocessor architecture, where you are having first processor and second processor. It will be using its register, this will be using its register. Separate registers will be there, separate cache will be there, but also there will be a level 2 cache. Level 2 cache for is common for both the processors or both the cores, we can say, whenever we are talking about dual core design. Multi-chip and multi-core systems containing all chips, chassis containing multiple separate systems. So this is a diagram for dual core design. Dual core is nearly similar to a multi-processor system. But here we are having another cache that will be common to both the processors, both the cores. So first chapter we have covered till now in the first unit. Now we are going to start chapter number 2. Before starting this chapter, let me tell you that now we are having very important topics from chapter number 2. So many topics will be coming in your exams. Mainly there are only two topics in this chapter number 2, that is operating system services and the system calls. Only two topics are there, then we will be finishing our first unit. That's why it is very important for you to understand all the topics. These both two topics are very important for you. Then outline what we will discuss in this chapter: operating system services, user and operating system interfaces, then system calls, then system services, linker and loader. Then we will skip this part particular. Now we are going to start the operating system services. What are the objectives? Identify services provided by the operating system. What operating system is providing to you. Illustrate how system calls are used to provide operating system services. How and what services operating system is providing to you, and how you are utilizing these services with the help of system calls. Operating system services. Operating system provides an environment for execution of programs and services to programs and users. Suppose you are using Windows. If I am not giving you any sort of screen, are you able to run any kind of program? Exactly no. Operating system is providing you the environment for execution of programs and services to programs and users. One set of operating system services provides functions that are helpful to the user. One set of operating system services provides functions that the user that are useful to the user. Now, what are these? Three major operating system services are almost user interface, what you can see in the system. Some desktop view will be there, some windows are there, you can open your drive, you can change the background. That is a user interface. You are interacting with the operating system with the help of user interface. Windows is giving you the option of double clicking any icon and you will be running that code. If you are having a video or audio, you can double click on the file, it will be played directly. So that is what? That is a user interface that operating system is providing to you. In Linux, there might be a different scenario. Double clicking may do something else for you in Linux. In Ubuntu, it is different. In Red Hat, it is again different. In CentOS, again it is different. Almost all operating systems have a user interface. Varies between command line CLI, graphic user interface, touch screen, and batch. There are different types of user interfaces. Command line, graphic user, touch screen, and batch. Command line is what? Previously, we were using DOS-based computer systems. DOS-based where you are writing the commands. If you want to run any kind of code, then you will have to type the different command for that code. Then the second one is graphic user interface, that is GUI. GUI means you are having some graphical user interface. Graphical means you are having some display, you are having some window icon, you are having some icons for my computer and the cycle bin. There are so many different icons you are using in your computer system. Then the touch screen user interface, where you can touch with the help of different type of touch, you may perform execution of the commands. Then the batch operating system is batch user interface is nearly similar to the command line uh, user interface. In command line, you are running each instruction line by line. In the batch, you can combine 10 or 20 different instructions in a bundle and you can execute that particular bundle with a single command. Okay, so it can run a package of different line of code. So your user interface should be there. Then program execution, second main important part of the operating system. The system must be able to load a program into memory and to run that program and execution either normally or abnormally, indicating the error. So whenever you want to execute a program means you are opening your web browser, you are playing a video, you are opening an audio song, you are opening a PDF file, anything you are doing in a system is a kind of process. So program execution, when your program is coming into the main memory, it becomes the process. So your operating system should be able to run that program by taking it from the secondary storage to the primary storage for running it either normally or abnormally. Abnormally, whenever it will be some error is there in your code, so it should return some kind of error that this particular program cannot be executed because there is an error, and you should have the idea of that particular error, whatever it is. So operating system will give you the idea of that error. Then the IO operations. A running program may require IO. IO means input output operations. Your program is running, that means a process is running. It may require some input output operations. Input output operation means first you want to print some data with the help of printer. It may require some input keyword also, because whenever you are writing in a code, just 1 second, hold on. So here, suppose you are executing a C program where you have used scanf. Scanf means you are expecting some kind of input from the user. That is again a kind of IO operation, because you want some kind of input. So these are the three main services that an operating system should provide. One set of operating system services provides functions that are helpful to the user, how it is useful for you, or it is doing file system manipulation and communication between the processes. File system manipulation means you are changing the contents of a particular file, you are changing the contents of the file properties. The file system is a particular interest. Program need to read and write files and directories, create and delete them, search them, list file information, permission management, etc. So your file system manipulation, it can be performed with the help of operating system. Communication between the different processes. Your processes may exchange information on the same computer or between computers over a network. Two different systems may communicate with the help of internet or some network connection, or two different processes may communicate with each other in the same system. Communication may be via shared memory or through message passing, packets moved by the OS, that we will be discussing in the second unit, communication part. But communication can be done with the help of two different things. The first one is shared memory and second one is message passing. These are the roles of operating system. Then one set of operating system services provides functions that are helpful to the user, that is error detection. OS needs to be constantly aware of possible errors. Whenever OS is running any sort of processes, it should be able to describe what are the different errors that can happen while running that code. That means possible errors may occur in the CPU and memory hardware, in IO devices, in user program. A error can be occurred at any place while running in the CPU, while using the IO device, or while running the user program, whatever user has created. For each type of error, OS should take the appropriate action to ensure correct and consistent computing. So whenever you are getting some error, your operating system should be able to solve that kind of error. Solving may involve restarting that process from the starting, restarting the last erroneous line, or if it is not able to restart or recover from that situation, it will send the message to the user that this particular problem has occurred. So the operating system is unable to run that task. Debugging facilities can greatly enhance the users and programmers' ability to efficiently use the system. Nowadays, we are having debugging facilities also. So if you are running a code and some minor errors are there, then operating system will be changing your code, will be debugging your code. If some error is there, it will change for you. It will run the most probable output you will get as output. Another set of OS functions exist for ensuring the efficient operation of the system itself via resource sharing. Resource allocation. Now we are talking about the resource allocation. How you are allocating the resources. Resource sharing. Suppose you are having only one CPU and one memory, then how you are going to share your CPU and memory with different processes? So many processes will be there in your computer system at a time. So how you are going to allocate the different processes the CPU? Resource allocation. When multiple users or multiple jobs running concurrently, resources must be allocated to each of them. Many types of resources are there: CPU, main memory, file storage, and the IO devices. There are different types of resources that operating system will be managing the allocation part of these resources to the processes. Suppose three different processes are there. All these three processes want to print some data from the printer, but you are having only one printer. So your operating system will be managing which process is going to access the printer first, then which process is going to use the printer second time, and which process will be using the printer in the last. Logging to keep track of which users use how much and what kind of computer resources. So there should be some log maintenance also. Log maintenance means whatever user is performing in the system, whatever you are changing the data, whatever you are doing with the system, all the things will be recorded in some file. So it is called logging. Protection and security. Protection and security is also the major importance in your system. While you are sending some data to the other person in your network or your outside network also, who can access the folder created by you, who can access the system, who can change the password, who can use your system, all the things will be coming in protection and security. So whenever you are installing Windows or Linux or any other OS, it will ask you for a password. Then only it will be opened. You can even hide that particular password. You can remove that password page. But there should be a protocol that my system is having a secure password. No one can use without getting my password. The owners of information shared in a multi-user or network computer system may want to control use of that information. Concurrent processes should not interfere with each other. Protection means involves ensuring that all access to the resources, system resources is controlled, that whatever you are having in a system is protected. Security means security of the system from outsiders requires user authentication. Use, security means password things. Protection means you are ensuring that no one is using your data. It is hidden. Security extends to defending external IO devices from invalid access attempts. So here we are having the diagram of operating system services. Whenever the question comes that you have to write the operating system services, you should have this diagram in mind. Then you can explain all the details like I have discussed all the previous slides. In operating system services, user and other system program, first I am starting from here. First one is the hardware part. Then above this hardware, you are having your operating system. Then operating system will give you the different services. What are the services? Program execution, IO operation, file system manipulation, communication, resource allocation, accounting, protection and security, error detection, what all things we have discussed in the last last three slides. Then for using these services, we are having system calls. System calls are the functions that are given by the operating system to use these services. Whenever you are calling the system calls, you are using the system calls, then only you can use the services provided by the operating system. Then the user interfaces will be there, GUI, touch screen and command line. There are different type of user interfaces. Then your user and the other system programs are there. Whatever you are running over GUI, you are running over touch screen, you are running over command line. So uh, if you want to uh, play a video file, so you will be using some GUI, your file will be visible to you. Then when you are double clicking on that video file, indirectly your operating system will use a system call. System call for what? For copying the content of that video file into the RAM. Then that movie will be copied in RAM. Then again some system call will be there for playing or executing that particular video file. Using the system call, your file system will be, you will be using your file system services, how you are managing your files. Then if your video is incomplete or it is having some error, so your error detection services will be working at that time. Without operating system, you cannot use all these services. Then only you can use your hardware or these different resources. So from the next class, we will be discussing the user operating system interfaces. What are the different type of operating systems we are having? We will be checking all the interfaces in detail. Okay. After that, we will be discussing the system calls.